Today we are going to talk about the Rust. The Rust is being widely used in different places. For example, one of the most popular video sharing sites in China, Bilibili, used Rust to implement 2 billion PPS as TUN server. The server project, which shares code with the Mozilla Firefox, also utilizing the Rust. First, we could talk about its library. For Rust, like other programming languages, has its own standard library, and developer could also create their libraries, which is called crates.
The standard library in Rust is denoted as std and is imported by default. The first important thing to cover is collections. A vector is a resizable collection of items of type T, and an array is similar to arrays in other languages. It's a collection of fixed size with items of type T. An array in Rust is different from other languages because both type and size are specified in the square bracket. A slice is a pointer to a block of memory, and it can be used to access pieces of an array or vector. A slice is dynamically allocated, so size is calculated at runtime. Rust also supports many types of data types. First, it has many of the same primitive types, so booleans, chars, strings, and ints that other languages have. Rust also has pointers like in C and C++. Unlike Python, Rust also supports tuples, and a tuple is an immutable array of objects that use parentheses instead of square brackets. Rust also has references, and a reference is a value from a pointer that's assumed to be valid and not null. And lastly, Rust has function pointers. These are like normal pointers, but their values are functions instead of data. These could be useful when you want to switch function calls after a certain point in a loop.
So after talking about its standard library, let me tell about its external library. Like what I just said in the previous slides, where external libraries in Rust are usually called crates. To manage these crates, we have the package manager called Cargo, which is the Rust built system instead of having different package manager in different operating systems as C or C++, like Brew in macOS or Extra. For Cargo, there's usually contains two files, cargo.toml and cargo.log. For cargo.toml, it is the manifest file that describes dependency and packages. For cargo.log is the log file that describes the state of the world at the time of a successful build. Similar to Python, the Cargo also has its community package registry called crates.io, where it has over 97K crates in the stock.
One of the main features of Rust is that it is memory safe. In comparison to a language like C or C++, when behavior can be non-deterministic, if you do something like run off the end of an array in memory, Rust is going to throw an exception. So I have an example of this here in this line. I've got an array. It has 5 elements in it, but I'm going to try to run a little too far off the array. So if I run this code, here's the first elements printed, except now I'm going to get a panic because I've gone out of bounds. This is one of the ways that Rust implements memory safety. So in Rust, I'm using that standard library, and I'm using the file system part of the standard library and this read method, which is going to read everything from that file and return a vector. This unwrap method here is another part of the memory safety of Rust. So it's going to panic if there's an error with the file.
Okay, the next thing I want to discuss is the differences between Rust and other programming languages like C++. The differences are mostly the error handling. While C++ is rife with undefined behavior, it results in a lot of debugging that has to be done during runtime, whereas Rust uses a system of safety that is compiled during the compilation process and avoids things that like running over an array or a null pointer exception and things like that. In particular, the main key differences are Rust is very friendly with mutable variable types, whereas C++ requires a keyword in order to be able to create a mutable object that allows you to edit a particular memory location. And the other differences are Rust has this thing called box, which allows you to allocate memory in a heap, whereas C++ is a garbage collection memory and manual memory allocation program that allows you to change the program to something that you may not expect and can result in errors that are either undetectable or faulty.
Use cases of Rust versus C++. Rust runs software on embedded systems. Rust is also the official language for Linux kernel development, while C++ is not used for Linux kernel development. The libraries within Rust are designed to be integrated into other languages such as Python. Rust is used in game development, although C++ currently has more frameworks, which is why C++ is the main language for game development. But in the future, this will probably change as Rust is adding more frameworks to its library daily. Rust features concepts such as ownership and borrowing, which other coding languages do not. And Rust's standardized repository known as Cargo. Rust only has one compiler, which is LLVM based. And in general, Rust is much safer than C++ is. On the other hand, C++ is the main language for game development because of its increased amount of frameworks. Rust uses multiple compilers such as Clang, GCC, MinGW, Front, Intel C++ compiler, TinyC compiler, LLVM, and more, and there's no standardized repository in C++.
Because of the robust functionality and versatility of Rust, companies in the community alike have come to adopt it into their projects. Some companies that use Rust include Amazon, Cloudflare, Discord, Dropbox, and Google. Amazon uses Rust as a part of its CloudFront software, Amazon Elastic Cloud Compute, and Amazon Simple Storage service. Cloudflare uses Rust for core edge logic and data processing because of its safety features. Discord is partly written in Rust because of its low-level functionality and speed. Dropbox uses Rust as one of the primary programming languages for its file synchronization engine. Google contributed to the development of Rust and the Rust Foundation, and it actively uses it in Android applications. Overall, Rust is a great programming language, like for whatever use case like you may need it for.